Okay, so it's 6:20 on Sunday the 11th, and I have a cup of tea, so bear with me. um, and I'm crooked. Fix myself. Um, okay, so there's a few things I want to talk about. So hopefully I don't forget all the things I want to talk about. Okay, I'll get started. Last night was just a regular weirdness. Like the dream thing is so weird because I keep getting flashes of conversations that I had in the dream, and in the dream, and it's this all night. I'm like all night with these same people doing stuff. And then and it is like learning stuff. So yeah, it's weird and how it goes, and like these flashes of things I was talking about, and it was like, oh my god, that was in my dream. Because I was like, this morning I had these two flashes, and I was like, who the hell was I talking to? And it was like, oh my god, that was in my dream. That is so weird. So, anyways, but I can't fully remember all of the stuff that happened. So I don't know. But it is weird. But this movie I watched yesterday, this movie blew my mind. And so I may tell more than, if somebody wanted to watch it. Then you might not want to listen to what I'm saying, but I'll share a link to the movie and my thing. I can't remember. I think it was called something about tomorrow. I don't know. It's reliving. It's hard to explain because it starts out with this little girl, and this movie to me was real. Like, this is real life. I don't know who wrote this movie or where they got their information, but it was so real of like the reincarnation experience. And so it starts with this little girl, and she has these two parents, and she gets in trouble at school. And she gets in trouble in school a lot because she talks a lot, which I could really feel like that was something about me when I was younger. And so she talks a lot. And so people don't like her because she talks too much. And she gets in trouble. So she got in trouble, and her mom got mad, and her dad was talking to her, and she was like, nobody likes me. I wish I wasn't me. I wish I could be somebody different. And it's like, oh dude, watch what you wish for. It's like, so she wakes up the next day, and she's not her, she's somebody else. And this wasn't some happy Freaky Friday movie. This was intense. So she wakes up and she's somebody else, and she's super confused. And so she there's some funny scenes with her confusion and her reaction. But so she goes back to her house looking for her parents, and she does this a few times because every single day she wakes up a different person. Every day is a new experience in this person's life. And she starts out being super confused and super upset, and she just wants to get home. And it just keeps happening and happening and happening. So the experience begins to like evolve, and she is everything you can imagine. She's old, she's young, she's every color, she's boy, she's girl, she's everything, which is reincarnation, which is learning from different experiences through perspective. And so she, as it's evolving, then she starts, at some point, she's trying to remember who she is. And she's trying to remember, like, she'll keep saying her name to herself, and people will call her other names and stuff. And then there's experiences people want her to do, and she's just a little kid, and she's very resistant. So she creates like a riff in these experiences almost. And, you know, like she comes in as a husband and, or wife, and she's pushing her partner away because she's like, I'm not doing that. So there's a lot of things in the movie. And and then she's going in and out every day. At some points, they just show it's like this, you know, spinning, like she's just going from life to life to life. And they all just kind of start blending into each other and all these different experiences and stuff. And then, and all she wants to do is get home. She just wants to get home. And there's one, and she doesn't tell people. That she's some, I mean, she did in the beginning, she'd say, I'm not this person, I'm this other person, and everybody would think the person was going crazy, which really, there was some perspectives in this movie where I was like, oh my gosh, we sit here and we look at people and we say you're going crazy, but they could be having some experience like this, like we don't know. And so she is going through all these different experiences. And then she gets to this one where she's a dad and her son is going through what she went through as a child. And she's married and she just wants to stay there. She doesn't want to leave. She just wants to stay in this life. And then she can't. She's just pulled out and goes to the next one. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so much like reincarnation, man. And that's the beauty part of this experience that we're going through right now, is because we do get to remain our character. We do get to keep playing this character that we're creating right now. So, hold on. So, and that's what in life, they're kind of giving you the opportunity to kind of take off the rough edges and to really discover yourself, because this is who you get to stay. Some people, they won't stay themselves. The ones that go into other realities and stuff, that don't go forward into the one that's being created on Earth, they will go into other characters, I think. They won't stay their same character. But the thing is that when you are outside of life, journey, life experience, lifespan, that you go into being your orb, and everybody who knows you recognizes you. So it's not like people are like, who the hell is that? I don't remember her. No, you're remembered by everybody you experience with. So, and you'll remember everybody too, which I just had this crazy thing happen outside. I'll tell you in just a second. I almost forgot about that. Okay, so every time when I wash my hair, it just is like, keeps on. I don't know. It has like, and now it used to be like I could go days. And I don't know if it's this well water or what, but I can't. It's like I'm almost to the point of having to wash it every day, but it's definitely like every other day, every third day. Third day is like, fuck, dude. And but the second day, it's always like, I don't know, a little bit more controllable. So, I moved them. Which I kept seeing all these people who were using these Velcro rollers for their hair. My hair is fine, even though it's fine hair. I just have a hairdresser say, you have fine hair, but you have a lot of it. And so, but it still is fine. And so I got some of those Velcro rollers, and don't do it. I don't know, like, these people, what their hair does. Like, mine, if you have fine hair, they get twisted in it. You cannot get them out. They just like go into this full-blown tangle, and have to rip them out of your hair. They're fucked. I'm sending them back. It's like, fuck that bullshit. So yeah, those colors suck. So anyways, but they may work on some people's texture hair, but definitely if you've got fine hair and you keep seeing all these people and you're thinking, oh, I think I'll try them. They're hellacious. Don't do it. So, or do it, do what you want. Do what you want. I'm not going to force you to do anything. Do what you want. But my experience was hellacious. Okay, so she wants to stay at this one life. And she just gets ripped out of it. And she goes to another one. And, hold on. Just drink it all down. So she, my nose is running. So she, I don't remember if it was right the next one that she came into, but at this one she came in as she was an old person in the hospital, and the old person is sitting there with her wife, and she wakes up, so she's Jean at this point, and Jean wakes up and is like, where am I? And the wife wakes up and she's like, well, you're in the hospital. And she says something else. I think she says like a couple more things. And then the wife's like, you're not my husband. And she goes, no, I'm not. And she's like, who are you? And she said, so she starts telling her who she is. And she said, why do you believe me? And she said, well, I've been around a long time and I know there's like lots of weird things. So, and so she has this like, what is that called? Not a peer, like an advocate, somebody who listens to her this day. So she listens to her and she gets to talk about her experience and what she's going through. And the woman's asking her lots of questions. And she says that she can feel the people when she goes in. She can feel them and she can remember their memories and stuff. But she just goes in and out of all these different people. And so, so there's a whole experience that day. It has a lot of stuff in the thing with that one. And then, I won't tell all the different things, but then she has this other one. This was where it got really crazy. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And, but also I have worked, because I was a psych nurse. So I was around people who were going through this. I've seen this in person. And so she goes into this one life and she's up on a roof and she is wants to jump. And then she tells herself it's just a dream. It's just a dream. And so she jumps. And then she wakes up in a different body. But when she wakes up, then she's even more confused. And so she, and I don't know what this person's deal was that she woke up in, but so she wakes up and now she's more confused. It's pouring rain and the TV's on and it's this preacher talking about just the same old freaking shit, you know? And so she gets up and gets dressed and goes to this church. And she goes in and she starts trying to talk to him. And the guy's like, we're having a private thing right now, like a Bible study or something. Who knows what the fuck they were talking about. But so this is the kind of stuff I've seen. Because she's like, you know, I need help. And he's like, well, the whole conversation was so good. I won't be able to say it all, but, you know, it's like, well, can we, well, you can't be here right now. We're in a meeting. And so can we call you a cab or something? Can we send you home? And she's like, I don't know my home. I want to go home. I can't get there. And she's having this one conversation and they're having a different one. And she's asking questions about what does it all mean? You know, how did I kill myself? And now here I am, I'm back. And they're just like totally weirding out. And then she recognizes one of the guys, and in her memory bank, she couldn't fully remember, but she's getting flashes. So she played him one day. And so there's like this soul recognition that happens. And he's like, I don't know who you are. And And then there's, of course, a hostile person who wants her to leave. And she's asking all these questions to this preacher. And it was really good. This part was so good. And but the things she was saying and stuff is stuff that I've heard people in a mental crisis say. And even the part where he's like, "What's your name?" And she's like, she had no idea. And she's trying to remember and trying to remember who she is, who she started out to be, but she can't remember anymore. And she's confused. She's just going through all the different people she's been, and she can't find herself anymore. And so she's just kind of lost. And that is what the whole thing is. Like, what we're here is to find ourselves. And we do go through all these different experiences to show us sides of ourselves, to show us parts of ourselves, and then we get lost. And so I thought it was really good because it was almost like the story of reincarnation, only done sped up. And then it is that the part at the church thing is just phenomenal. And then something I had seen also this morning, which I have done before, and I talked about this years ago, but you sit in front of a mirror. So it's something about finding yourself, finding your demons and stuff. And you sit in front of a mirror and you're supposed to sit there. I think it said in this thing 10 minutes. It was a study they did or something. And so you're supposed to sit in front of a mirror and stare at yourself for 10 minutes, which I also saw last week, somebody talking about going in a mirror and staring in your own eyes. If you've never done that, I've done that a bunch of times. It's trippy. But so you sit in front of the mirror for 10 minutes and you just stare at yourself. And after a couple minutes, your face begins to morph and you start changing and turning into different people. And you start changing how you look and stuff. It's trippy. And in this study, or in this conclusion or whatever, they were saying that it is like a reflective process. So it's a way to reflect upon yourself in seeing, because it shows you everything that's inside of you. So when you see monsters, but also you got to remember, when you think of yourself as a monster, it's how you perceive yourself. So you're holding on to something. You're holding on to a grudge or a sadness or a judgment towards yourself, to see yourself as a monster. And so, because you're not truly a monster, but then you could also see another side of yourself where you're another kind of being. And if you perceive in judgment other beings as being a monster, then you could also pick up on that energy. So it's where you have to go deeper into. So if your face is changing and you see different kinds of monsters or creatures, or ask yourself the more deeper questions, because it can very well be your own perception of yourself, or it can be showing you parts of yourself that you don't understand. So anyways, but it is, I guess, helpful for being able to figure yourself out, or find parts of yourself that need to heal, or get a better look at yourself, however you want to look at it. But anyways, it's kind of an interesting thing to do, because your face does start morphing. And this was around the time that, and it'll freak you out. Like, I don't even know if I made it the whole 10 minutes. That, I doubt I did, because your face does start morphing and you do start seeing all sorts of stuff. But this was early. I could do it again, and I don't know what I'll see. Maybe I will. Because this was early on this was like 2016 when I did this. And it was also when I was standing in front of the mirror, and then when I looked in the mirror, there wasn't me. I wasn't standing there. There was this, in the fantasy vision of an angel, not like it's in a fantasy, like, and that's all perspective too, like how we perceive. Because some people would think like, oh, white robes and glowing and blonde flowing hair. It wasn't like that. It was a warrior, and it was a man, and it was a warrior, like I don't know, maybe it's an Anunnaki, because I think the Anunnaki kind of, when I've seen things, a picture that kind of remind me of Vikings. And so, which the Vikings could very well be a bloodline from the Anunnaki. And there's a big thing going around right now about the RH negative people. If you have RH negative people, they are from some other, because everything was colonization, like the red hair thing, the RH negative thing. So there's different things, which you probably will begin to break down and even like, well, the A's are from here, the O's are from here, and we all, it isn't even necessarily you're from there, but the DNA that they used, some people though are. Some people are like colonization and then their bloodline spreads. Then there's other ones where they took all these different beings, different components, and then they mixed it up to create this new being here for this experience, experiment, because I think it has to do with this, all of us coming together, and it's more like galactic. Then it's like all of these different bloodlines out, all these different species or beings out in the cosmos, and that it's like, well, we all will give our stuff to them and then we'll see if they can come together. And so it's kind of like the micro macro. We come together and it brings everybody together. That's why it's kind of this big galactic thing that's happening, because it's really, and I know that we are some kind of experiment. I was told that when I was a kid. And then, as you awaken, you start finding out about, dang, we're in a lot of experiments, actually. So, but I think that the bigger sense of things is, what happens if we mix everybody in together. And there's been a lot of fights, a lot of battles throughout time, a lot of control to try and keep us in the battle of hierarchy. But we are breaking through that. At least some of us are breaking through that and coming together in unity and creating a new world that is going to be based on acceptance and where we all are valued equally. And so, and that's, a big evolution for not just man, but for the galactic, the cosmos, the universe, and a lot of other beings. There's a lot of beings out there that live in peace and stuff, but they stay in separation from one another. So this is like a kind of like a bridging happening. And so it opens up, like this mix master, galactic mix master of everyone being able to come and get along. So all of these different beings will be coming from all these different places, and it's going to give us all we move into this whole experience of accepting everyone for who they are, not living in fear of not understanding people or something, not understanding other beings. But it's like we come together and then it spreads so that they can come in. And so it's like we don't have fear of them, because then we start realizing, well, we're dealing with all these different bloodlines. We're not just dealing with all like humans, like this whole concept of what they've tried to tell us, which is all like a misnomer of all the information that they've given us about being human is all like a made up kind of thing. And people keep breaking through all of this different stuff. I just heard somebody talking about the sleep process and how it's so much different than what we were taught to do. And when he was talking about it, he was brought up about the food and time. He said that the train people came up with time and all of these different restrictions that they've tried to create to control our experience. But it's all breaking down, and people are seeing through it and sharing information, and so it's all breaking apart. And so let me see. So all the different beings all coming together, which I think even in our dreams right now that we're already meeting up with different beings. We're already going through things. We're being prepared. Like there's a preparation going. And it's trippy too, because even in the dreams, I still have an over awareness of the dreams. It's weird. I guess that's what lucid dreaming is or something. Being aware that you're in a dream, but also it's quite the dream experience. It's so much different than when I was a kid. It's like kind of like, I don't know, like more harnessing and controlling your dreams than when you're a kid. They're out of control and you're remembering old past lives. You're scared. Like it's all this, like all over the place. You have an experience and you don't know how to handle it. So you go to sleep and you start dreaming about it. And then we're just confused. Like, do our dreams, are they just a continuance of our experience? Why do we have nightmares and all this stuff? But then as you begin to evolve into understanding about dreams, and you begin to like control them and accessing, which speaking of access, this creeped me out because this guy, he did a video and he said, whenever I start any of these channels, I always close my eyes. I don't watch when they start. And so he said, this is why. And he showed, oh my God, it made my head start spinning. And so all of them, Netflix, Hulu, all these start with a spin, like they're pulling you in. And it's like a portal, and it's a portal of entry into their world. And it was super creepy because I'm only on YouTube usually. I go on Prime sometimes, but mostly I'm just on YouTube. And so I haven't seen that or noticed that or whatever. But when he was talking about it, he said when something's coming at you like that, is they're trying to draw you in. But I did talk about that because when I talked about that dream, and this was like an experience. It went for a while. I haven't been having it so much now, but I talked about it before. And when it very first started, I was at that mall, and that when I was standing in this mall and I was looking at all the people just scurrying by, there was a guy standing over across from me, and he's just standing there staring, just like kind of like I'm just standing here staring, watching all the people. Like it kind of felt like I was like a ghost in a mall or something, just watching the nonsense. The people just go. It was like a conveyor belt. And I was right next to the escalator. And all these people were just going. And it was really weird to watch. And then so I look over, and this guy is standing there watching. And as soon as I noticed him, I noticed how handsome he was. He had white, grayish hair. It was past salt and pepper. It was like a lot of a white beard and mustache. It was like shaggy hair and these piercing blue eyes. His eyes were so piercing. So it was like when I saw him, I was kind of drawn in for a second of looking at him, because he stood out, and he totally stood out because all the other people too were almost like vague somehow, and he was fully formed. It was like he had a different form than the rest of them. The rest were all just like generic or something. And God, I still got this throat thing. And so he, but as soon as I noticed him and locked eyes with him, he drew into me so fast. He was coming so fast, and I could feel that he was trying to draw me into his eyes. Like his eyes were a portal. And so I looked away and I opened my eyes real quick to get out of there. And then I was like, oh my God, that was so weird. But it didn't stop there. It wasn't him. It would be different people all the time. But they kept trying to draw me in through their eyes, because I noticed, and I don't know if that is a part of the dream state where the government, because I've heard this from other people who like astral project or something. I'm sure it's in all the astral realms that you have these, and that's what they're looking for when they're doing these like Gabriel and all this stuff, is people who have these abilities so they can use them to police these other things. And so The astral guy, the projector who I had seen talking about it, he was just out busy, going place to place in this field. And he kept noticing this person or something. And that's what you don't want them to notice, that you notice them. And so because it's like you're kind of asleep, but once you start to notice, you have an awareness and they're watching for the awareness. And then I think they want to use you to also be police, because you've got another ability that most of the people who are just going don't. But or they probably do, but people are not um, fine tuning their abilities. So they just are generically going through the motion. Confirmation. And so then he said that once he had noticed, and then they noticed him noticing them, that they kept being everywhere he would go, and then they sucked him in to a place where he was all of a sudden in this room with like military, and they were talking to him, and they were trying to get him to like go to work for him or something. And but he left, but he said that like he had no control, they just sucked him in. And that's the thing, is like, to me, but they kept showing up and they kept like trying to suck me into their eyes. Like I could tell about the sucking. And even when that happened too, that one night I had talked about, when I shut my eyes and I saw a light way out, like it was pure dark, and then I saw a light way out, and so I started being like, what is that light out there? How is there a light out there? And as I started giving it my focus, it started moving in faster towards me. And then when it got up close out, I had to do the same thing, with open my eyes real quick and pull out of there, because it feels like they're trying to pull you in. Well, when he was showing that and he was talking about how these like Netflix and Hulu and stuff start, and they have this spinning and pulling because you feel yourself being pulled. It was so weird because he showed that and I felt myself being pulled. And so they're like pulling you into their world for a minute, for however long, which he said probably sometimes you find yourself in there for longer than you would think. And so it's like pulling you into a different world, and into a different perspective, or a way to control your perspective, to feed you information. And so but after my experience there for a while, oh my God, every time I go to sleep, there'd be somebody showing up, and they would try and do it in all different ways. Like it was a kid, it was an old person, it was one time it was two people, it was like twins or something. And as soon as you notice, then it's like they try and pull you in through their eyeballs. It was the weirdest thing. And I was like, eyes, it's like some kind of portal. Like, you gotta watch out, man. And I don't know where the hell, they're taking you. I don't know where you're going. But, and then I don't know, you get yourself trapped in there. So you just gotta, I think you gotta be aware of your dreams, and, that there's beings out there that are trying to mess with you. But I haven't had the eyeball thing in a while. So, but it went for, God, I swear to God, it went for months. Because even then, when I kept pulling away and pulling myself, then it started being like, all I did was shut my eyes, and there was these faces coming at me with these eyeballs constantly. And I would have to shake it off and wake up, or pull my eyes open over and over and over. Which last night I did feel like it was messing with me. Something's messing with me. And sometimes it's just so clear. And it often does it through the dogs. And especially with Stella. So I think it, sits in, her, like, you think like if you have something hurting you, and then you have something you can't see just sitting there pressing on it, and or hitting into it or something, and aggravating you. So I think that they do that kind of stuff, like these little beings, whatever they are. Which I saw this one guy who was talking about he was being under attack. I know I'm not the only person. And he was talking about that he was being under attack. And it's a whole long thing. So I won't say the whole thing, but he had the awareness too of these two forces, and he was always talking to. He said he said that he got to meet him in the physical. They came into his room, and that they are something seven or something, some committee or something of light beings, and so anyways, but once you have the awareness of it, it's not crazy at all. I mean, I know people hear about it and they think, oh my God, these people are so crazy. But once you go through the stuff, you know it's real. It's not crazy at all. And just like when watching that movie yesterday, when the people who were perceiving the girl in the church, they all thought she was crazy. But when you saw what she had been going through, it all was making sense. And there was such a communication gap and the perception of the church and how they explain things. Like, they don't have a fucking clue what's going on, and they couldn't even hear what she was saying because they can't think outside of the box. They're very contained in their thinking. And so it was really good. And but there is this force out there that is messing with us, and you do, I think, have to have the awareness of it in order to battle with it. Otherwise you're just like caught in the current, and so it pulls you around. But then when you stop, you find your ground and you stop and you hold yourself and you start saying, no, stop it, leave me alone. And which sometimes I forget to say that. And I get upset about, like, but it's like every fucking night. And it's the way that as soon as I doze off, it's like it's such a harassment, and it is so hard because it's like instantaneously I go to this other world, and then I get knocked out of it really quick by getting pulled back. And so it's this harassing kind of situation that makes me feel so loopy and so out of it, and it builds up all this emotion. So if they're feeding off of the emotion, I give it to them. But so this morning, this was what was trippy. This morning was, so the dogs all went outside and go potty, and Archie was last. And I always worry about him because it's still dark, and the coyotes, which the other day, yesterday, I heard something out and it sounded like I was crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't orphan this little coyote. And so I'm looking for my flashlight, and I'm kind of nervous to even let the dogs go out. And so I open the door and start flashing, looking out there, but I couldn't see anything and I wasn't hearing anything then. But I haven't heard a lot from the coyotes, which maybe they've moved on. Oh, wait a minute, because yesterday, man, I'm getting confused through real life and dreams. I'm totally getting confused. I don't know what the hell is going on. I can't look at something on some of these things and be like, man, because I seems like I was outside and I heard all these coyotes in the daytime. But it's like, did that happen? How am I seeing that? And then that even happened. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, all this is so trippy. What's going on, man? You get really lost, especially I don't have like these parameters in my life. Like, I don't get up and go to work and interact with people. Like, my life is just this thing of like sleeping and eating, doing the dogs. Which yesterday I worked with Ruthie for a while, and she did really good. I got her to, because for so long she'd take my fucking fingers off, and I got her to be gentle. That took some work. And I got her to do down. She was jumping on me earlier and she wasn't listening, but I'm going to keep on working on it. But she was doing really good with sit, and she can do short stays. But I'm just going to keep doing it every day. And then I know, like, somebody said, well, just watch Caesar on TV. and that you don't have to pay for that. And it's the same thing my mom has said too. But I'm gonna do the four training sessions, and they do an evaluation, a consultation for free. And so I'm gonna do the four, and I'm gonna work with her up until we even go. So she's gonna be doing good, I think, when we get there. And so the biggest thing is, as I want them to help me with, the recognition and the control of the aggressive behavior, and kind of quick. So anyways, even though it's, kind of a lot of money and stuff, but I could just watch the videos, and I have gone to training before, and I know how it works and stuff. But I was like, I think just because it's a different breed than I'm even used to, and I don't know. It seems worth it to me, even though it seems like, it does seem a little frivolous to spend $400 to go have $450 to go have somebody help you with training the dog, but still, it seems more. I don't know. I just feel more like secure about it, having another, like a dog trainer involved, and not being like, oh no, I can get her over it and stuff like that. Is like, I don't really know what I'm dealing with. I've never had a dog that can shift like that. And so, and I know that she has anxiety, and I know she's a puppy and she has impulsive problems. So anyways, it would just be kind of refreshing and ease my mind to have somebody who works with dogs all the time to really, help me, not just me and the TV. So anyways, but I do know, because my mom says the same thing, like, watch Caesar. Caesar will help you. Which, before, I was watching that British lady or English lady who was it's Me or the Dog, her show. It's Me or the Dog, and she does really good training tips too. And she's worked with dogs that are aggressive, and people have these dogs that they come in and the dogs are biting everybody, rushing people at the door, doing all sorts of stuff, and she gets them to behave. And so, but that's kind of like what I want, is more of somebody who is like, I just want kind of that interaction for a little, a few weeks. And then, I can keep, watching those shows or whatever and keep working with her, because that's the thing. You don't just take them to training and be like, here, train my dog, unless you want to pay a couple $1,000s and have them board and train. But, and I've heard disasters on that. Like, some people send their dog to board and train and their dog never comes home. And you got to really do research on somebody and make sure and know about how they train and stuff, because there's been a lot of stuff going on lately. But but you have to continue. You have to continue. And even when you're doing the training once a week, you have to do homework every day. You have to work with them for like an hour. And so that's why I was already starting. I'm just going to keep starting. But the thing is she's super smart and she catches on quick. And so that's my good point. The good part about it is that she, she's not a doctor. Because Winston was kind of a doctor. And so I've dealt with that. I could get him to sit, but he was just like, but she's not like that. She's bright. She catches on really quick, and she starts seeing what it is you want. But then we're also battling her impulsive, high energy excitement and her anxiety. So anyways, but I think working with her too is going to help her with their anxiety of being able to bond with me away from the other dogs, and see like that she's cared about. She has a place here, that she's okay. Her life is okay and settled. So anyways, which, if I did just go and dump her at a thing, like, it would just turn her life into hell. It would just be hellacious. She would just build more anxiety, and she would go to the next place and she would drive them crazy, and she'd probably get sent back again, and she probably would resort back in bad behaviors of peeing everywhere. And then because you have to stay on top of that too. It's like you constantly got to remember, oh, I got to get her outside, got to get her outside. But she does good when we're in here, of going and telling me, going to the door and hitting the bell or hitting into the door. So she does good on that. but we can be somewhere else. And she's just like, forgets. So, anyways, but this morning, so I opened the door, and the other three went outside to go potty. Archie was in the rear, so he waited until they were all like coming back in. Then he decides, well, I'm gonna go out now. So it makes me nervous for him to go out because of that coyote situation. Because I don't know. I mean, I know they can jump the fence really quick and easy, but I don't know how strong they are to be able to pick up Archie, which I think he's like 25 pounds or so, because Max is 30 pounds, because we just got him weighed at the vet. And so if they can pick him up and jump up back over the fence real quick, like, I don't know, they just jump in there, grab him by the neck, shake him, break the neck, and then jump out. And so, anyways, I don't know how quick it will happen or could happen, but I saw a woman who was doing a video, and I think I talked about it the other day, a couple weeks ago, because she lives out like in the country. I don't know if it's Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, I don't know where, but it could be Colorado. But she said that, so she's out with her little dogs, letting them do their evening potty or whatever, and they're kind of, playing around or whatever, and she starts seeing down the driveway this big ass coyote, and it's coming her way. And so she grabs her GUN and starts, firing. And it didn't give that thing did not give a fuck. She got the two of them in. One was standing right next to her. She's just going to town with her weapon, and that thing didn't give a fuck. And I guess she's not a good shot either. So it came up, got the little thing right next to her, grabbed it, and took off. And that's what it is. It was gone. So, anyways, yeah, they're bold. So, and it's so weird over at Golden Gate Bridge. They're out there just playing in the park, playing tug of war, playing with balls, throwing them up in the air for themselves. It's like, I don't know. Everything is just so wacky right now. But anyway, so so Archie's out there, and I get the flashlight so I can look out there. And so I'm standing here, and I look up, and there's like tons and tons of lights in the sky. And so I use my flashlight, and I start flashing it up at these different ones, like doing this like code to them or something, like flashing them off and on to see, what the response is. And all of a sudden, all these different ones that I couldn't see start flashing on. All these different ones started flashing on. And I was like, what the hell? There's so many more up there. And all of a sudden, there were so many, and they were all flashing. It was the coolest thing. It was so fucking cool. Because when I was out there just looking, it looked like there was a lot. But but once I started doing the flash, and I was flashing at this one and this one, because there was some that were really bright and you could see them spinning. And then, but once I started doing that, all these ones that I couldn't see at all started flashing on, flashing on, flashing on. I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. So, and there was like so many more. Oh my gosh, so many more. In my flashlights, not even, I mean, they've got some really kick-ass flashlights right now. But it was making me think about that lady who, she was out in her garden, and she said that all of a sudden she heard somebody say her name. And so she was like, what? She turns around, but there's nobody there. And then she starts realizing it's somebody's talking to her in her head. And so he's talking to her, and she's talking to him. And she's asking who he is and stuff. And he says, he's somewhere else. He says that if you look at me, all you would see is a little light. That's what we see when we look out. These little lights out there. And he said, when I look at you, that's what I see too. But I think there's a zoom in and zoom out. And so I think that is like a ability to be able to, but that is like the astral travel, time travel kind of situation, which I think, you just have to kind of practice. And so, because I think, I could zoom in my mind and zoom into, because you have people doing that, even with the, uh, what is the thing called? The 3i. So some people have even been doing that and zooming into there. But then sometimes you don't know because then you start having people like, oh, well, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. But I definitely think it's beings. And I think all these things are beings. And so, anyways, but that's what was making me think of, that these are, it's like we're watching them and they're watching us. And then we should, do something to be like, hey, I see you. And they flash back, I see you too. Like a kid's in the window with the flashlight to your friends or something. So I don't know. It was really cool. I would say go do it. Do it because it was really cool. You really felt like, oh my God, they're communicating back to me. So it was really cool. And it was all over. I start being like, then there's one flashing over here, one over there, one over here, and they're all like flashing and flashing. I was like, oh my God, it was the coolest fucking thing. So, anyways, so and Archie got in safely. They ate, and so all that is done and settled. So, anyways, but okay. So on the news, then Crystal had sent me a video the other day, and I had already seen something about this, but I had forgot because I know, the harvest is our problem. I've said for a long time that people worry about traffic, but it's really harvest is our bigger thing, and it's the HUMAN TRADE industry, and so that is it's like when I see it, it is like people just don't realize what the enslavement really entails here, and oh yeah, because it is like consciously put them to sleep, and they do that. That's wild. Yeah, they do that. So, anyways, but there was a guy who was at the hospital, and he was a construction worker, and he had no family. And then he started overhearing them, and they were going to take his stuff that night. And so he escaped. And then when he got caught, he was saying they're trying to steal my stuff. And and in this video I saw that Crystal has sent me, they said that they went in to do an investigation and they found all sorts of things at this place where they were like hidden rooms and stuff like that. And so I don't know, I don't know how accurate that whole story is on the whole thing, but I've heard it a couple times now about this guy escaping and saying what they were going to do. And then I saw a video day before yesterday, I think, of a woman in England, and she said her husband was in the hospital and he was sharing a room, I think, with two other guys. And one of the guys, they were in there putting pressure on him to sign a DNR. And so they were pressuring him. So he's like, okay, he signed it. So then after they had left, the guy, her husband, started saying, why'd you sign that? You don't want him to resuscitate you? You don't care? And I think the guy's in his 70s. And he's like, no, I want him to resuscitate me. He's like, well, you just signed a thing that said that you don't. And he was like confused. And so when they came back in, he said, I want to be resuscitated. And so then the husband is in there. He's like, yeah, he wants to be resuscitated. He don't want to be no DNR. And the nurse started putting all this pressure, saying like, oh, so you want us to jump on top of you and break your ribs? You want us to hurt you? You want us to, like, all of this stuff that they were saying that can happen. But you can also choose, like, well, I want you to be able to defibrillate me. You can decide, like, well, I don't want you to cut my chest open and start pumping my heart, let me go at some point. You get to decide. Well, supposedly. But this is where this woman was saying it's that you don't get to decide. And so the guy was like, yeah, well, I still want to be resuscitated. And the husband was like, quit trying to scare him. And so then, and the husband's like in his 40s. And so then she goes and gets the doctor. The doctor comes in just like as a script, says the same shit to him and trying to scare him. And the husband's like, quit trying to scare him. He wants to be resuscitated. And then they said, well, it's up to us. You don't get to decide. And but that right there, that goes right with, hey, you got to get these things out. This person isn't productive enough. We can have a better use for his parts. Like, so get us the parts. And also in the news right now is about that guy. I don't know, some tech guy or something, the grave robber. And who knows? I don't even know where this story is going, but he had like 100 decaying bodies or something in his house, and he was going to a really old graveyard, but there was also some fresh ones. But so at the point where I heard, they said they don't know if all of them are robbed or if there's victim. We don't know enough about this guy, but the whole thing is just really, really eerie and creepy. And I guess they knew that there was some grave robbing going on or something in the cemetery, and so they did like a sting operation or something. They were watching it or something, and then when they caught him, he had like a bag of bones or so. I don't know. I don't even know. It's just like scary movie materials, what's going on with this guy. So so we have that whole case going. And then the case with the lady and her wife, that whole thing just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. So which there's lots of people who are doing the breakdown on the video, in the breakdown of the video. So there is way too many threes, way too many. It's everywhere through the whole storyline. There's an extreme amount. And in the video, there's a lady standing there with black and white checkered coat. There's also, I had seen this like a week, or like right after it happened. One lady was going through the video stuff really slow, and she's like, why is there a dinosaur? And why over here is there a shark? And so, you know, it's just one of those things of just, you know, just put it in your pocket. And so now, though, there's another video, and the guy is talking about there's a dinosaur right there. He didn't say anything about the shark, but he's like, there's a dinosaur right there. This dog over here is like a shadow of a dog. You can't even make it out. And then the lady in the black and white checkers. So this is, you know, I mean, is it AI? Is it like, who knows? Who knows what the hell in this world that they got going? But it's definitely FF. And so the, which is the flag that's, you know, false. So they have these things, these dramas, these situations to distract, and then they create all of this division. And this one has created a lot of division, but to me, this is also like a purging event. So it brings a lot of stuff in you to the surface. And so a lot of people should start recognizing their own anger and their own ignorance and their own, like all these different parts of them. Because in this case now, what has come out with this player, the girl that they chose, there's a lot of weird stuff too. Because in the real, they were Googling her last week before the incident even happened. Her name is at the top of their Google list or something. And then they've started trying to wash it or something. There's so much stuff about this crap. And then, so then, now she is, so it was 2024 that she went. So I guess, you know, in November when he won, and they're like, we're out of here. And they go to Canada. And she only has custody of one kid because she lost custody of the other two because her wife was abusing them. She was beating them. She wasn't just beating them up, though. She was burning them with cigarettes. So it was like kind of extreme. And so, so the court said, well, you know, you can have your kids or you can have her. And she's, well, I'm going with her. And so she, the kids went to their dad, live with their dad. So she only had custody of the one. And I don't know what the situation is with this lady, but the lady was wanting her to get involved in this extremist movement and going up against these agents. And it's her kids' school is a training center where they are not just training adults, but they also are uh, like indoctrinating kids in a specific view of of life, I guess, um, to create this combativeness. So, anyways, and then she goes, and then in the video too, it has her wife out there taunting the agent. It's like, well, she's the one taunting him. The other lady's just sitting in the car. She's the one taunting him. And then as she's trying to drive off, I don't know if they're trying to stop her. They're holding on to the thing that she starts driving. I have no idea, because it's all, to me, it's just this made up drama. Because, like, yeah, the lady gets in the car, but then she's not in the car. But then this, like there's too much weird stuff about it. Just like the whole thing with Charlie. There was way too much weird stuff. And now on that whole thing too. So, the point that turns is I think a lot of us can recognize that it's more of a CULT. And it's and one thing, I'm getting emails from them. How the hell am I getting emails from them? What in the world? I'm getting emails every day from them. It's like, how did I get on your list? It's like, what in the world? So they so this one's kind of hard to explain. Okay, so the sanction, the business of it is got like a board members and stuff. And so now, Erica's supposed to be the CEO. And I think, I don't know this whole thing. I mean, there's something more to this whole thing with Charlie to be shown. And so I don't know if he was like just a good guy who was charismatic and he had opinions and people started wanting to listen to his opinions, and it grew, and he got a podcast and more people would grow. So then he started having influence, and then these people step in. Or if it's like the way that they step in is like, well, we'd love to have you come and work for us. And we are a little church trying to get started here called Turning, and we would like you to affiliate with us, but it really is more of a control. And then he started recognizing, well, these people from the real have control, and they're wanting me to do and say things that I wouldn't do and say. So I'm not really happy with that. And then supposedly, too, that there is an obituary from like a long while ago. I was thinking somebody said 2013, but some obit on Erica, which is clearly, then that's a stand-in. But we've seen so many of these people that they're not there anymore. These are all like these stand-ins, and it's all over in Hollywood and stuff. Like all these people like that don't look like themselves, don't act like themselves. And now it's like, okay, well, there's all these stand-ins and placeholders or clones or something. I don't even fucking know. But so in this board of representatives is this certain guy. I can't remember his name. I can share the video about it if somebody wants to see. But so he is a guy who's a military guy. And he was associated with another military guy, and they wrote a book together, and it was about how to like create mind control, how to control people, through this way of just about mind control. I don't know what else to call it, but it is in the other guy who wrote it with him is that guy who is the known Satan worshiper guy. And he's really eerie. He's got these weird eyebrows, like this handlebar mustache eyebrows he does. And he was on Oprah, and he talks about his religious beliefs, and that he and the military accepted him or whatever. He was like a colonel or something. He was up there, and this other guy who's also a colonel or whatever. So then they decide to write a book together about how to control people's minds. And I think the one guy, the handlebar eyebrow guy, I think he's gone now. But the other guy, he's on the board of this place that is really seems to be out there controlling people's minds and attitudes and stuff. And it's all like these controlling mechanisms in our society of getting people to submit, to take a knee to their authority. And they do it through this shaming kind of, guilt. And we all, the reason why they can use these things against us is because we all carry it. We all carry these things, and people don't realize like how deep it goes because you're carrying it from other lives, and then you're coming here and it's getting brought up, but it's so you can recognize it, so you can purge it out of you. But instead, it gets used against you, and so they're using your inner demons against you. And that's why, at this period of time, with all of this nonsense going, it should be showing you your inner demons. You should be seeing these hostile sides of yourself, these judgmental sides of yourself, because now people are like, oh, so now she's your new hero who's replaced George, and now you are, all about she's the hero of the world. And she also doesn't have custody. Like all things that a lot of people would be like, well, that's not good. That's not good. But then like, okay, well, but that's another thing it shows is like people don't really know about people when they start this worshiping them and stuff. It's like, sit back and learn a little bit of stuff about the person before you start elevating them. That's a whole thing too about this whole Hollywood situation of us elevating people and not having an awareness of who they really are, thinking that they're the character that they play instead of who they are as a person. Because now, like this whole thing going on with Melissa Gilbert, oh my God, I feel bad for her because I think that she was more wholesome. I think she was more Pollyannish, um, and her husband, yeah, I just saw him in a movie the other day, and he was giving me the creeps. And I can't even remember how he got started, but he's been in the industry a long time. I don't think as long as her, but now, and what is his name? Timothy Bus. I can't think of his name. I just saw it a bunch of times, and I can't think of it. But now, what she must be going through, and I think the people like we need to have more compassion. What would it feel like if suddenly you found out your husband was doing all of this stuff? Like, I mean, you'd be devastated. And then they're trying to draw her in. Oh, she's out buying these kids Christmas presents. It's like she's probably giving them Christmas presents because she's just a nice person. And she looked at them as like employees of her husband. And the ones he's being accused of right now, which he's had other accusations along the way of his career, but the ones right now, and as soon as these ones go, watch how they just start coming out of the woodwork, man. There's gonna be more and more and more and more. It happens every time. And so it was two twin boys, and they're 11 now or something. Their parents are doing the charges against them, but one of the boys he started when he was 7. It's like, God dang, you freaking perv. And I don't even know what their situation is with their kids, and that'd be another thing, if you were the wife, you'd be like, you'd want to be questioning your kid. Like, I just can't even imagine. And then plus it's so public. It's such a public thing. And she has such a reputation of being so wholesome. And there is, I think she spoke out about this stuff about kids and, what happens to them and stuff as child stars and stuff. I swear to God, like a year or so, or 2 years ago, I saw something about it. And it seemed like I don't think Michael Landon was a perv so much on the kids, but it seems like he was like a lot more harder to work with or something than what we gave the appearance of the show. But then I think that he left his wife and his kids during his high times, and went with a super young person. Like, I don't know if she was 17 when he met her, and she just turned 18 and then they got married. I don't know. I think it was one of those situations. But there's been so many of these things going out and coming around and stuff. And I'm not positive. But I remember seeing people, her being interviewed. And, but it seems like she was supportive of Michael Landon. I don't remember, but it seems like that they were talking about that kind of stuff. And so now, you know, she's sucked down into it. And so I don't even know how this is going to go down, but I do have empathy for her. I doubt that she knew her husband was doing that and she's giving the kids Christmas toys to shut their mouths. I doubt that's what the situation is, but when they do the headlines, they try and create that kind of scenario. I don't know. I think that she is more wholesome. I think she did think that she had a good guy, and he was using his power because then he had become a director. So he's this movie actor, and then he'd also become a director. And so, and in the directing is where he got these little boys. So anyway, but some of the times when he was acting before, there was also issues that there's charges that it came about and then went away, and he discounted them and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to be so easy to discount this one because the truth is coming out around us. You know, the truth is, you can't hide it anymore. And I think that once these start going, I just bet there's going to be more. I just feel like, you know, I just have empathy and compassion for her and what she would be going through. You know, your whole life is going to be turned upside down. But it was also, though, she was notified in November, I think, that he was under investigation. And now, though, they've got the arrest warrant out. So, and he may already have been arrested, too. I think the arrest warrant went into effect. Today's the 10th. So it seems like it was just went into effect today. I don't know. It might have been yesterday or something. But anyways, yeah, but she was notified like November 5th that he was under investigation. So she's probably been dealing with this a while, listening to his lies. And, oh, they're just, you know, they're all out to get me. And I'm just being a good guy. And it's like, okay, well, I would say we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be more people coming out. And how many more of these guys are going to keep going down, man? How many of these people just use their power for sex conquering? It's like, God dang, man. What is that? Just the biggest thing? Is that how your mind just works? Is like, you know, well, if I do it with them, then I'm really cool. It's like, what is that? Their whole drive is about that. I just find it strange. It's like I don't know. It's like, how can that's so like, that's the consumption by the PORN or the fetish, you know, like you just are consumed by that to think it has such value. You need to go outside? That's Stella. Okay. There you go. It's so freaking cold out. Oh God, it's in the 20s. It's so fucking cold. It's been in the 20s, and then it doesn't really get much warmer in the day. It's been going in the 30s. We're supposed to get like to 40 and 41. The weather here is different than what I have had in winter for a long time, because it's just fucking cold. Like, it is frigid cold, and it got a wind. There's wind all the time. It's wind. And then and maybe because I'm in the valley that it's more windy, but but it hasn't been that much snow or rain. And even though it's overcast and cloudy all the time, it barely has rained or snowed here. So, I don't know, but it is cold as shit. And it is cloudy all the time and windy. So it's not like, oh, it's great, pleasant winter. Oh, it's fucking cold and dreary. And then I don't know, you know, because the sky keeps changing. There's so much stuff going on in the sky. You know, I don't know. Is this their sky that they've always had, or is this some new thing? Because there's weird stuff, man. I swear, when I look out at the sky, it is like looking way, way out. So far out. And then when I try and do videos, it does not show at all. It doesn't show. It's the weirdest thing. It's like you can look out with your eyes, and see something totally different than what's showing on the camera. So different. But it is, oh, and there's been so much more with this pink, man. Oh my God, there's been some bright pink. There was a guy who was walking in a snowstorm in England, and he was like, you know, I've been walking for 20 minutes in this snow because what my question is, why is everything pink? And he turns the camera around. It is so fucking pink. Everything is pink. And that is, I think, the third video I've seen of that, of not that, I mean, 3 different places where it is bright pink. And it's been during, I think they've all been during snowstorms. And they've turned super, super pink. So, where are we at? Oh, I have been talking. She's ready to get going. She's ready to roll, old man. I think today I'm going to make us egg sandwiches. So, anyways, I guess we will get to rocking and rolling around here. We'll get our day started, get prepared for our next next nap, which I really like the guy thing about the sleep thing that he was doing. I'll share that one too. So the ones I'll share was, oh, the one about that freaking TP thing and that character. And then the guy talking about the sleep. If there's another one too, I might share another one. So I'll put a link to those in the comments today. But, and I did talk to Chris. Well, we've had our first meeting. So we are going to start doing some kind of live thing. We've got to kind of figure out like a time that will work, you know, and then I'm sure I'll be interrupted all the time, but I think it'll still be fun, especially while there's so much, you know, chaos going, and it kind of gives people a chance to, because I loved when I was, during 2020, and there was lives, and it was so fun because whatever the person was talking about, because they'd be talking and talking to people and stuff like that, but there was so much going in the comments. You got so much opportunity to talk to people in the comments and talk about stuff like that you had going on and asking questions and stuff. So, oh my gosh, slobber, man, slobber. I just saw it flying somewhere. I don't know. That I thought it landed right across my phone. These white walls. Before, my walls at the cabin were all wood, and these white walls, boy, I really have seen like, ooh, crap. Man, there's a lot of like slobber and dog slobs and stuff. Like, god dang. It was all on my other walls, I'm sure. I just couldn't see it as well. So anyways, but we are going to get it situated. So we will start going live, but we got to figure out like how it will work for her schedule and my schedule to meet up. And so then we'll do some lives so everybody can kind of talk. So I'll tell you when we'll try and do it. But it's hard because, you know, everybody's in different countries and different places around, even in the States. We have different time zones. So we're all on different times. So I won't be able to accommodate everybody. But we will, you know, primarily I've got to work around her schedule. So anyways, but we will start doing that each day, is start doing a live so that we can just kind of, I don't know, hang out and talk about all the BS that's going on, or about how to ignore all the BS that's going on. And it's not just completely ignore it, like it's not happening. You have to have awareness of it. You have to choose. Everything is about choices. And it's not ever a wrong choice, but there's always a consequence to every choice. And so everything is about choosing, and, you know, choosing what you pay attention to and who you align with, which I guess the labor force, or the labor, some group now just posted a thing saying trust the plan. And so in the comments, you know, there's lots of it, and there's lots of people who turned against it. And I said, yeah, it's been a long, tedious run, but I definitely trust it. And I think that they are definitely trying to do the best thing. So even if it seems like, oh my God, this is such bullshit, I think we got to remember, if they weren't doing this slow awakening, trying to get people to realize things, that we would have probably a lot more civil war or chaos and stuff, because it was supposedly the quantum computer is the one that came up with the plan, because the they kept putting in information asking, what would be the best way to handle it? What would be the best way to handle, supposedly. And that it came back with how to accomplish these goals with the least amount of problems. Because it is like we have to wake up. We have to see for ourselves. We have to look at things, because look at how people are don't think or anything and become like violent and angry. Like, there's a lot of violence going on, which there was a news person out there trying to interview somebody, and so she goes, well, do you have a job? Do you have a job? How do you get paid? And the person who's, they're all covered, of course. And they said, I'm getting paid right here, right now, or something like that. So that goes along with what a lot of people are like. These instigators are out there being hired by people like SOROS, and they are being paid for this. And that's what people have got to remember, because then it draws in these other people, and you're putting yourself in a bad situation, because they're there to create tension and division and possibly civil war. So you got to really watch out, man. But that's the thing too, is we got to have awareness of this stuff, because it helps us to grow and to think and to, become evolved beings, with morals and priorities. And so anyways, it does have to do with, everything has to do with the awakening, as far as I can see. So it's not a good thing. And that was the thing about the love and light people. The first part of this whole thing, for so long, they were like, oh, just look away, don't pay attention to things you don't like. That's the wrong thing to do. And so it was like, bury your head in the sand. It's like, no, you should have been paying attention. And then whatever was coming up for you, you had to be healing it and, growing with this stuff that's going on. That's why we have so many of them right now who are falling apart and who are stuck, because they were burying their heads. So don't bury your head. You don't have to watch the whole thing go down, but you just got to have the awareness of what is going down. And I think that is also why they try and manipulate the screens, because what's going on in the IRAN and the IRAQ. Oh, crap, man. And I guess Elon just went and brought him in, the Starlink like I have, and set them up so that, because they were cut off from media. So what they're showing now seems to be a big thing. But I saw a girl yesterday make a good point, and she said, before NESARA can start, everybody has to be, every country has to be like set on its own. And that's, what they're trying to accomplish, is get the taters out and get each place to get back to equilibrium of peace, so that we can start moving in the direction of peace, which will be, abundance and a lot of good stuff. But they got to get the people who are taking all of the funds out of the way. And so anyways, but there's a big thing going on over there in those places, and it's it's like they're burning down the cities, man. But we got stuff that's going on too. But the thing over here is that like they're going against the wrong guy. The media has got them manipulated into going against the wrong guy. They're not seeing. But when you stop and you think like, wait a minute, these people are illegal. These people are trying to get them to go and do their paper. And so why am it's not like they're lining them up and taking them out, Not like they're going before the squad. They're just getting sent home or getting sent to do their paperwork. It's like, but everybody's like freaking and then believing all these stories that these people like fucking Maddox or whatever her name is, fucking Anderson, all these fucking yahoos, all these late night hosts, fucking shut your fucking mouth. If you don't, you just, oh God, it's annoying. It's like, God damn. But so they just are spreading all of this misinformation to people. And so anyways, but the people have to wake up. They got to start questioning things and seeing like, wait a minute. So I'm supporting this person who is, by all considerations, probably isn't the best person. So Anyways, but that's the parts of us we have to face. That's parts of us that we got to heal. And in order to do that, you got to learn how to love yourself. You got to learn how to love everybody else. And you got to learn how to have the day you want to have. Like, you got to be able to pick and choose. And that doesn't mean to ignore and pretend like something's not going on. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or they're going to bring down your vibration. The way to bring up your vibration is overcoming all of these things. And so I'm sure there's going to be more. Like, there's going to be more, and it will be, we'll just get started. And the weeks are going so fast. I can't even believe it's already Sunday. It's like, fuck, time is speeding up. It's like we're just missing hours of the day or something. I don't even know. It's just wild. So, anyways, I'm sure that there'll be plenty for us to process, and it will continue. It's not going to slow down. It's not going to stop. So, anyways, but we'll talk about it tomorrow, and I will figure out about this live situation, and I will get it more situated. So anyways, I'll talk to you later. Talk to you tomorrow.